I found out why he never let me meet his best friend. I always thought it was normal that he had a best friend he talked about constantly, but somehow never introduced me to. 5 years together, living together, sharing bills, sharing a life, and somehow she was always busy, out of town, or asleep whenever I asked to finally meet her. I ignored it because I trusted him, because I didn't want to be the jealous girlfriend, because every time I brought it up, he'd laugh and say I was overthinking it. Then one night, his phone died while he was in the shower. It buzzed on the counter, over and over. Same name, her name. I didn't open it at first. I just stared at the screen while my chest tightened, telling myself not to be that person. But then another notification popped up. Did you tell her yet? That's when my hands started shaking. I unlocked the phone. The messages weren't flirtatious. They were worse. They were detailed, coordinated, planned. Talking about me like I wasn't a person, like I was a temporary inconvenience they were patiently waiting out. She wasn't his best friend. She was his ex. The one he told me was crazy. The one he said he hadn't spoken to in years. They'd been talking every day about our fights, about my insecurities, about how fragile I was, about how long he thought he could keep me calm before everything blew up. Then I scrolled one message further down, a date, a time, a plan, not to meet me, to end things. And the worst part? The plan didn't say if I'd find out. It said when. I didn't confront him then. I put the phone back exactly where it was, sat on the edge of the bed, and waited for the sound of the shower turning off. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he'd hear it through the bathroom door. When he came out, wrapped in a towel, he smiled at me like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just read messages where he and his ex dissected my emotions like a strategy meeting. Like they hadn't planned my heartbreak down to the hour. I asked him how his shower was. He said, good. I nodded. I kissed him, and I didn't sleep at all. Over the next few days, I watched him differently. Every I love you felt rehearsed. Every hug felt like a delay tactic. When he texted, I wondered if he was choosing words carefully, because she'd already helped him script the conversation. I stopped asking questions. I stopped reacting. And that made him nervous. That's when he started being extra nice. Flowers for no reason, cooking dinner, talking about our future. He even mentioned trips we'd take someday. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach twist even more than the messages. He wasn't planning to leave because he felt guilty. He was planning to leave when it was convenient, when he had his exit secured, when he had her fully lined up, when I'd served my purpose long enough to keep his life stable. So I did something he didn't expect. I reached out to her, not angrily, not accusing, just a simple message. I think we need to talk. She replied immediately. She said she didn't mean for things to go this far. She said she thought he was already emotionally checked out. She said he told her I was unstable, controlling, and wouldn't handle the truth well. She said he made her feel like she was rescuing him. I sent her screenshots, not the angry ones, not the obvious betrayal. I sent her the messages where he called her a backup plan, the ones where he said she was easy to keep on the line, the ones where he joked that she'd wait forever if needed. There was a long pause. Then she said something that changed everything. He told me you were the problem, but he said the same things about me when he left. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about love triangles or jealousy or bad timing. This was a pattern. He didn't end relationships. He replaced them, slowly, quietly, safely, making sure someone else was ready to catch him before he let go. We talked for hours, compared timelines, compared lies. And for the first time, I didn't feel crazy. I felt clear. That night, when he came home, I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't ask questions. I told him I knew. He laughed at first, tried to downplay it, said they were just talking, said I'd misunderstood, said I was spiraling. So I told him I'd spoken to her. His face changed instantly. Not guilt, not sadness, fear. He asked what I'd told her, asked what she knew, asked why I'd gone behind his back. And that's when I finally saw it clearly. He wasn't upset that he'd hurt me. He was upset that he'd lost control of the narrative. I told him I was done, that I wasn't going to be his placeholder while he planned his next move, that I wasn't going to be spoken about like a project that needed managing. He begged, then he blamed, then he went cold. Within an hour, he was packing a bag. He didn't say goodbye. A week later, I found out he and she tried dating again. It lasted 3 months. Apparently, once there was no one left to blame but him, things didn't feel the same. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel smug. I felt relieved. Because the hardest part wasn't losing him. It was realizing I almost stayed with someone who had already decided I was disposable and thought I'd never be smart enough to notice. I thought it was over once he left. I really did. I thought the hardest part would be the silence, the empty side of the bed, the muscle memory of reaching for someone who was no longer there. I was wrong. Because when you leave someone like him, they don't disappear quietly. They unravel loudly. The first sign was the texts. Not apologies, revisions. Long paragraphs explaining what he meant, how things were taken out of context, how I was weaponizing screenshots. He said I was trying to ruin his life, said I was obsessed, said I needed help. The same words he used on her. The same words he'd been planting about me for months. Then came the calls. Voicemails where his voice cracked just enough to sound sincere. Messages where he alternated between, "I miss you," and "You destroyed everything." He told me I was heartless for cutting him off, that after everything he did for me, I owed him closure. I didn't respond. That's when he showed up, unannounced, standing outside my building like he had every right to be there. He said he just wanted to talk, just 5 minutes, just to explain his side. I told him no. He smiled the way he used to when he thought he could charm his way out of anything. And then he said something that made my blood run cold. "You're really gonna let her win?" That's when I knew. He still thought this was a competition, that I'd stay if I felt chosen, that I'd fold if he made it about pride instead of self-respect. I told him she didn't win. I did. He laughed, a short, bitter laugh, and then he said the quiet part out loud. "No one wins with you. That's the problem." I shut the door. The next week, mutual friends started acting weird, distant, awkward. One of them finally told me why. He'd been telling people I was unstable, that I went through his phone because I was paranoid, that I teamed up with his ex to embarrass him, that he was scared of what I might do next. He painted himself as the victim so convincingly that for a moment I wondered if it would work. Then people started comparing notes. Another ex reached out, then another, different timelines. Same story, same phrases, same pattern of emotional overlap, secret conversations, slow replacements. The narrative cracked. He didn't like that. That's when the rage came out. He accused me of turning everyone against him. He said I was manipulative, vindictive, obsessed with ruining his reputation. He said if I hadn't looked at his phone, none of this would have happened. Not if I hadn't lied. Not if I hadn't cheated emotionally. If I hadn't caught him. The last message he ever sent me said, "You're going to regret throwing this away." I blocked him. Months later, I ran into him by accident. He looked smaller somehow, less confident, like someone who'd run out of places to land. He tried to act casual, asked how I was, said he hoped I'd healed. I told him I had. And for the first time, I meant it. Because healing wasn't forgiving him. It wasn't understanding his trauma. It wasn't waiting for an apology that would never come. Healing was realizing I didn't imagine the red flags. I ignored them because I was taught to be patient, accommodating, quiet. Healing was trusting myself again. The last thing I ever learned about him came from someone else. He told his next girlfriend that I was the crazy ex who ruined his life. And apparently, she believed him. At least at first.